Okay, in this video, I want to talk about a really common problem that you could solve a bunch of different ways, but I'm going to show you a way to solve it that's like maybe the first line of defense. It's less intrusive and damaging. Hopefully you're not going to get into some drywall work. So here's the setup. We got a plug, right? Or often it's like more than one. It could happen with the larger multiple gang electrical boxes. So here's the thing. The box, it's all loose, right? So the reason it's loose is whoever attached the box on the back side of the wall didn't do a very good job. Maybe they used nails and the nails became loose over time, or the screws that just weren't tight enough, or, you know, maybe it's old and it's been had at a couple of times over the years, and now every time you plug in your vacuum cleaner the thing's moving around and shaking, and that's not a good thing. You want stability, and there very likely is an electrical code about the box needs to be stable within the wall. So let's just talk about this now that we've set up the problem here. So that's what you're dealing with. First things first, you got to turn off the power, because we're going to have to open the box to deal with this. You can't deal with the problem, you know, by drinking a coffee sitting across the room. So you'd have to be able to turn off the power, and then we're going to open up the box, and we don't have to like disconnect everything, which is good because we're trying to do like a minimalist approach here. We are just going to like move this stuff out of the way to the extent that you can carefully do so. And again, this is all presuming that you know how to work with electricity safely. I'm not suggesting that you go and do it if you don't know what you're doing. But to do this repair process, you do need to get in the box here, and you do need to move the wires out of the way. So here's the product. Maybe first, one more thing before we talk about that. So on this side of the box here, there's a stud. You know, you can maybe see the hardware, like, I mean, we can see the back side of the wall, so obviously we can see the problem here. But if you look inside the electrical box, you can probably see on one side or the other that where that stud is located. And if you can't, you could, you know, take a drywall knife or like a slim, long screwdriver, and you kind of just probe in side to side and see what you can find, and see if you can locate a stud on one side. I don't really love the idea of coming in from an angle with like a long screw inside of the box and trying to attach it to the stud this way. You could totally do it. I've probably done it before. I'm more likely to do that on like an octagon box versus a receptacle box, where your clearance from the side of the box to the edge of the receptacle is very, very small, and less than that even if it's a GFCI receptacle. So I don't love that idea of coming in from an angle, because you won't be able to sink the screw far enough to get it out of the way of the receptacle. I think that's what a lot of people would do. But what I would prefer to do instead of that would be to use a product which is a 820-D. 820-D F clips. That's what these are called. And they're called F clips. They come in a pair here. Let's give them a twist. Bada bing. There is a left side and a right side. So that's notable here. And the way that you can tell is that on the clip itself, so see on this end, right here I've got a ridge. Same with this side, ridge right there. Whereas on this side, it's flat. So the flat side, you want to sit against the box. So if I try to do it with the ridge aiming towards the box, it's not going to sit flush. So we want to go with the ridges aiming away from the box. And that's why you have two, one for the left, one for the right. The side with the stud. Maybe you can get an F clip in there. Maybe you can't. I find can't is usually the case. And honestly, the problem here is usually more so the free hanging side of the box, especially with multiple gang receptacle boxes where the installer got lazy and they should have installed strapping and support. And in theory, you should as well. You should take the box out of the wall. You should install some new strapping and supports. You can do some drywall repairs and paint touch-ups over top of that. That's probably the way that you should do it. That should be how you fix this. But if you just had a loose box that you suspect could be fixed up pretty well with something like what I'm showing you here, an F-clip, let's go ahead and install one and I'll show you how it works. So I know mine's bench top, so you're just going to have to imagine it on the wall, and it is a little bit harder on the wall, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing here. So first things first, again, we have to have that ridge facing away from the box. And so that's what I'm going to do here. And that goes down in the bottom corner and then angled down and away. So that's your first move there. When you get the F-clip in, that's the way that you want to try to get that in there. So if you can, you want to even just like wiggle it a little further. Like you could have drywall, sheetrock, lath and plaster, a lot of different options here. I'm not using my pliers and standard screwdriver and banging away on this to get it in further yet, but I've done that before in situations where I have to, because what I'm trying to do is I now need to lean the F-clip back into the wall, but I need this top edge to clear the corner here, right? So that's why I've kind of wiggled it down further, and now I lean it back in. Looks like I do have the clearance I need. I have the clearance. Okay, so at this point here, I'll show it to you again before I proceed. That's as far as we've gotten. But now I don't really have the clearance to get by. If I pull on the box, I might be able to just wiggle it through, but that tab is catching on the edge of my drywall. And it probably will happen to you too. And when it happens to me when I'm working out in the field, I would take a standard screwdriver and I would sit it right on the edge. Like that. Take my linesman's pliers and just bashing it through here. I'd rather do multiple light hits. I think it does cleaner work if you do multiple light hits. Okay, now once it goes mostly, if not all the way through, you're going to switch out to your linesman's pliers, or you can also use side cutters, are useful for holding onto this F-clip here. So the top part is kind of hung up still on the drywall or the lath and plaster. We have to get it all the way through. There we go. You can see it's all the way through because it slides up and down readily. Okay, so here's the thing. The box right now has movement, right? Deflection room. And your situation is going to be unique. Your box might be a problem where it's falling into the wall, might be a problem where it's falling out of the wall, could be both even. If you can, what you want to do here, because we could just bend the F-clip over. I've seen people do that. So at this point, you don't do anything else, you just bend the F-clip over, but we can do better than that. If the box has deflection to it, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to press on the box slightly. Does it just like threaten to fall right into the wall, or does it move like 1/4 of an inch and then it kind of stops? If it does that, that's kind of perfect, and that's what I want. What I don't want to do is attach the F-clip in the middle of this range of deflection. I want to take the box to either pushing it in until it stops moving or pull out until it stops moving. So I could take some pliers, I could grab something in the box like a grounding screw, and I could just kind of pull, and likely it doesn't just pull right out of the wall. Likely it pulls until, 1/4 inch of movement and then it stops. That's the point at which you want to bend the F-clip over. My preference is just to apply a little downwards pressure into the box, or pressure into the box. So again, the F-clip itself is free moving right now. I push in the box as I line up the F-clip in the center. It's important to line up the clip in the center because the arms are only so long. Right, so that gives you an idea, like it's only just grabbing, 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch on either side of the box here, and it's just drywall, so you kind of only get one shot at this, but we push in on the box as we're pulling out on the centered F-clip, and then just with your thumb, bend one over. You don't have to bend it over the whole way, just get it started. So same thing with the bottom one. I'm pulling out on the F-clip, I'm pushing in on the box, and I just bent it over a bit. That's all I'm doing. Don't try to get it all done in one shot there. In case you're interested to see, that's what the backside looks there. Okay, so I find that the most effective tool at this point to finish this job are side cutters. I usually just try to get up on an angle if I can. and pinch. All right, these ones I'm just going to bend over. There we go. And now I'm going to pinch them. And I'll show you why I'm pinching them. Do you see how they don't sit flat against the side of the box there? If this is an electrical receptacle like a GFCI that has very, very little side clearance, I don't like that. I would want to do something about that. So again, side cutters are a good option here. Just give them a pinch. There we go. Okay. And so after that, just all I did is I just got the tip of the side cutters on the F-clip and just gave it a little crunch. And now look how much tighter they sit and lay on the side of the box there. It's way better. So now this box has a lot less movement to it. It's not going to be moving around. Yeah, the wall's moving. I say that took 90% of the movement out. We didn't have to sink any screws. We didn't have to do any drywall work. It's a pretty good first step here. So F-clips are the product. 820-D is the product number. Remember to work safely. I don't want you to get hurt, but this is certainly a trick that I would use if I had an electrical receptacle box or a light switch box that was moving around and I couldn't otherwise see like a low damage quick way to repair it, make it, a little bit less dangerous, maybe code compliant. These F-clips are code compliant. So yeah, if you like this video, if it was helpful to you, please do like the video. Remember, I'm technically Steve. It would help you to like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I'm going to teach you a host of technical skills for do-it-yourself stuff, home improvements, and the like. I'll see you soon.